If you invested $100 today and added just $500 a month, you could retire with over $1 million. Not from a risky bet, not from picking the right stock. From one mathematical principle that Albert Einstein is often credited with calling the most powerful force in the universe: compound interest. Today I'll show you the exact math, real numbers, not hype, and exactly how this works. What compound interest actually is. Here's the simple version. When you invest money, it earns a return. Compound interest means you don't just earn a return on your original amount. You earn a return on your previous returns too. Your money starts making money on its own money. In the beginning, this feels slow, almost boring. But because the growth builds on itself, it eventually starts accelerating in a way that feels almost unbelievable. And that's exactly what we're going to break down. The real numbers. Let's use a real example. Say you start with $100 and you invest $500 every month into a broad stock market index fund, averaging a historical 10% annual return. Here's what that actually grows into over time. After 10 years, your account would be worth roughly $102,000, and you'd have only contributed about $60,000 of that yourself. After 20 years, roughly $380,000, from about $120,000 contributed. After 30 years, over $1.13 million, from just $180,000 actually contributed out of pocket. Read that again. Out of that $1.13 million, you only put in $180,000. The other $950,000, the vast majority of it, came purely from growth compounding on itself. That's the entire concept in one example. You're not the one doing most of the work. Time and compounding are. The part most people miss: time over amount. Here's where it gets even more important. Let's compare two people investing the exact same $300 a month, at the exact same 10% return. The only difference is when they start. Person A starts at age 25 and invests until they're 65 to 40 years of investing. Person B starts at age 35 and invests until they're 65 to 30 years of investing. Same monthly amount, same rate of return, just a 10-year head start. Here's the result. Person A, who started at 25, ends up with roughly $1.9 million. Person B, who started at 35, ends up with roughly $680,000. That's not a small gap. Person A ends up with almost 3 times as much money, from only 10 extra years of investing. Not from investing more per month. Not from picking better investments. Purely from starting earlier and giving compounding more time to work. This is why the single most common piece of investing advice, just start, is actually one of the most mathematically important things you can act on. The cost of waiting is enormous, even if it doesn't feel that way in the moment. Why the early years feel slow. Here's something that trips people up and causes them to quit early. In the first several years, compound growth looks almost flat. You might invest for 3 or 4 years and feel like nothing is happening. That's normal, and it's actually expected. Compounding is exponential, not linear. Most of the growth happens in the later years, once your account balance is large enough for the returns themselves to become significant amounts of money. The first few years are about building the base. The growth becomes dramatic later precisely because you didn't quit early. How to actually do this? So how do you put this into practice? Step 1. Choose a low-cost, diversified investment. Broad market index funds are commonly used for this exact reason. They spread your money across hundreds of companies instead of betting on one, and they've historically captured long-term market growth without requiring you to pick individual stocks. Step 2. Automate a consistent monthly contribution. Just like the 50-30-20 budgeting system we covered before, the goal is to remove willpower from the equation. Set up an automatic monthly transfer into your investment account so it happens whether you think about it or not. Step 3. Leave it alone. This is the hardest part psychologically, but the math only works if you let compounding run uninterrupted. Pulling money out early, or pausing contributions during a market dip, resets the clock on exactly the mechanism that makes this work. Step 4. Increase your contribution as your income grows. Even a modest increase, say, adding an extra $50 or $100 a month whenever you get a raise, can meaningfully shorten the time it takes to hit your goal, without requiring a lifestyle sacrifice. Common mistakes. A few mistakes that quietly destroy compound growth. Mistake 1. Panic selling during a market downturn. Markets go down sometimes, that's normal and expected. Selling during a downturn locks in the loss and removes your money right before it would have recovered and continued compounding. Mistake 2. Waiting for the right time to start. As we saw with the 25 versus 35 comparison, waiting is mathematically expensive. There's rarely a perfectly right time. Starting imperfectly today outperforms waiting for ideal conditions. Mistake 3. Ignoring fees. High management fees on some investment funds can quietly eat into your returns every single year, and because of compounding, even a small fee difference becomes a massive amount of lost growth over multiple decades. Low-cost funds matter more than people realize. So here's the whole idea in one sentence. Consistent contributions invested early, left alone to compound over time, can turn a modest monthly amount into more than $1 million. And most of that growth doesn't come from what you put in. It comes from time itself doing the work. If you haven't watched it yet, I broke down exactly how to structure your monthly budget to consistently free up money for investing in the video 50-30-20 rules. Subscribe for the rest of this series, because understanding this one concept, compound interest, changes how you think about basically every financial decision you'll ever make.